Give me a gun!
Fights are breaking out, and it's pure chaos. Your fellow inmates are burning anything they can get their hands on. It's now a full-blown riot, with no sign of slowing down. But where are the guards? How to Survive presents the biggest prison riots. Overcrowded cells, abusive guards, and poor living conditions are among the most common reasons prisoners rise up. These eruptions tend to be extremely violent and can last for days. We're about to show you some of the most notorious riots in history and how some people managed to make it out alive. How did one riot last 4 days? Why did inmates cover themselves in wet blankets? How did a helicopter stop a riot? Number 5. The Litoral Penitentiary. In September 2021, this penitentiary saw the most violent prison riot in Ecuador's history. It began when inmates in one section of the facility crawled through a hole to a different wing in order to kill members of a rival gang. The attack left 79 prisoners injured and 118 dead. It took an operation of 900 officers and soldiers to take back control of the prison. They were able to rescue a bunch of cooks that had been trapped in the wing where the fights were happening. This led authorities to believe this was a war among gangs rather than a demand for better living conditions. Number 4.
Wow. Welcome to another episode, everyone. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. 118 were unalived in that riot there in Ecuador. 118 people dead? Wow. That's a bloody, vicious riot. Crawled through something to attack their rival gang in prison. Yeah, it was more gang than anything. 118 individuals lost their lives. And here, it count down the top 5 most bloodiest riots that have transpired. Number 5 was one hell of a one, with 118 people losing their lives. Let's continue.
Davao Metro Discom, Philippines. On August 13, 1989, prisoners in the Davao penal colony were protesting poor living conditions. They grabbed the guards' weapons to escape, and this led to a riot. 15 civilians were kidnapped, and this was a fatal mistake. The authorities stopped negotiations right away and raided the prison. The 16 leaders of the riot were killed, and only 10 hostages were rescued. Number 3.
Dang! 16 leaders. See, this is the government. This is what they do. And particularly the American government, even though that wasn't in America, but that's what happened in Attica. And I'm sure that he has Attica here on the list, where the government invaded in 1971 and shut the riot down. Didn't care about the hostages, broke into prison and opened fire on all of the inmates, even though the inmates were surrendering. This is what they do. And if you are the leader, the spokesperson for the Attica riot, he was sitting there, making demands on camera, had a microphone, and was reading from a list. They identified him. They wanted him dead. He was on the list with a picture of him and what have you. When they invaded the prison and started shooting at inmates, they wanted to make sure they got him, the leader of the riot, the one who they felt like had orchestrated everything and was making the demands and had the influence there on the yard. They wanted to eliminate him, and they did. Brutalized him, killed him brutally. And we see there with riot number 4, they invaded once they took the civilians hostage. But do they care about the civilians? No. Did they really care about the civilians? No. How do we know this? Well, they took 16 civilians hostage and only 10 made it out alive. 6 civilians died. So they didn't care about, they didn't say, we're going to go in, once you take the civilians, oh no, all bets are off. We're going to go in here and rescue these civilians and eliminate you all for kidnapping them and holding them hostage. No, that's not what happened. They went there and unalived the 16 individuals, he said, that were the leaders of the riot. Whoever they identified as having influence, as carrying this on, and the people are following their direction, that's who they're going to take out. They went there and took out 16 individuals that they said were the leaders of the riot. 16, killed them. This is what they do. And killed 6 civilians in the process, apparently.
Penitentiary of New Mexico. Located in Santa Fe County, prisoners had complained about awful living conditions for decades. In February of 1980, it was almost destroyed. Inmates overpowered the guards and took one of them hostage after breaking into the facility's control center. Within minutes, rioters had taken over the whole institution. They broke into admin offices and set them on fire. Some of the rioters formed a death squad and hunted down other convicts. The prisoners' demands included a meeting with the New Mexico's governor calling to an end of overcrowding and abuse of power from the guards. 33 prisoners were killed, many were injured, and the fires caused millions of dollars in damage. Some inmates survived by wearing wet wool blankets to prevent burns and smoke inhalation. Number 2.
Okay, so what happened? Did they ever meet their demands? And we see there, and we see here, that constantly these riots are starting over overcrowding, poor conditions, poor living conditions. These individuals are miserable there in prison, and they tend to believe that they have nothing to lose. They are being dehumanized, emasculated there in prison. They can barely survive off of the rations that they receive, and they're just without hope. Many of these individuals don't have proper bedding, sheets, blankets. I know you say, well, they committed a crime. Prison is not supposed to be Disneyland, but we're talking about crimes against humanity. They are already being punished because they are in prison. And so it's not the prison's job to make these individuals miserable. They atone for their crimes, redeem themselves, and re-enter society once they pay their debt to society. But a lot of these living conditions that they end up enduring in there, excuse me, and we've seen some of these here on the Inside Story with me, Damian Porter. We've seen some of these living conditions where the water, you can't even drink it. It's dark, it's muddy, it's filthy. They have rats going in and out of the cell, flooding. Yeah, they become without hope and end up attacking and taking over and making demands that you change these conditions. But it is the environment and the conditions that ignite these riots all of the time.
Attica Correctional Facility, New York State. On the morning of September 9, 1971, inmates using makeshift weapons overpowered guards. They gained control of the central area of the prison, where most of the prisoners joined them. The rampage lasted 4 days when the police decided to enter the prison. The raid was incredibly violent. It included helicopters dropping tear gas and officers entering with guns blazing. A witness described how the police killed prisoners even after they surrendered. The ordeal claimed 43 lives. 10 of those were hostages accidentally shot by the police. Number 1.
What? That makes no sense. Well, we know what happened with Attica. There have been in-depth investigations. They have it on camera. They have the footage. What was it, September of 1971? The riot was really in response to George Jackson being murdered in prison in August of that same year, 1971. They took those guards hostage and made their demands. As I said, they ended up unaliving in a brutal fashion one of the individuals who was really making the demands, had the piece of paper and was reading from it. A black individual who they targeted, but they targeted all of them even as they were surrendering. This is on camera. They had their hands up, waving flags, all this surrendering. Because they come in there shooting, guns blazing. So they just, all right, man, all right. And gave up, and they still gunning them down. They got their hands up, both hands up, don't shoot. Boom, boom. They gunned them down. And it just triggered me somewhat when he just said that they shot 10 hostages by accident. That's what he just said. They shot 10 hostages by mistake. Get out of here. I can understand you taking one out by accident, not recognizing that this individual is not an inmate, but instead a hostage. It's not a correctional officer, but instead a hostage. But 10 of them, and you killed 10 of them, that's not by accident. The message was clear that this is a dictatorship, and we will even take out some of our own to keep the machine going. The W supremacist machine, to keep it going. That's what happened there. I believe it was Nixon that had sent them in, called them on a phone call, telling them to go ahead. Man, it was a whole it's a million documentaries on the Attica. Right. And the one prior, number 3, they unalived 33 people. Every one of these riots, the authorities are coming in and putting them down and brutally unaliving dozens of inmates. In one riot, 16 inmates were killed and 6 civilians, 16 that they believe were behind it or had the influence or kicked off the riot, were the leaders of the riot or what have you. The other one, 33 inmates were killed. The first one, 118, but it looked like they killed each other over some gang stuff. Right here in Attica, 42 individuals were killed, including 10 hostages, which were correctional officers for the most part. Let's see about this one.
Sao Paulo House of Detention, Brazil. In 1992, members of rival gangs started a brutal fight that quickly escalated to widespread violence when other prisoners joined in. Rioters burned mattresses, and even guns were confiscated when it all ended. Unable to control the situation, the guards let military police and Rota Special Forces take control. Both had a reputation for using extreme violence. The riot lasted less than 3 hours, but led to 111 prisoner deaths and 22 officers injured. Human rights groups stated that the police were responsible for most of the casualties. You've witnessed the world's most violent prison riots, but now you're in the shoes of an inmate being transferred to a maximum security facility. How could daydreaming help you cope? Find out here.
Wow. See, 100 and something killed there. And human rights activist groups said that the police were responsible for those deaths. Every one of these riots, the police are putting them down. The government, the forces, the Gestapo groups are coming in and putting them down and unaliving tens of hundreds of inmates. You have to be careful behind those walls making these certain demands, but we did it in the California prison system, of course, often made demands over certain things, and were able to get certain things established there in the penal system. But we were not taking correctional officers hostage and unaliving them and etc. That will bring the forces down on your head for sure. Wow. The main thing is to stay out of prison, to stay free. That's it. Stay out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe and stay free, people.